Asks in Yokohama, Pivot and the Wolf, Chapter 2. As Hiroi sat at his lifeguard's chair, he longed to know what Emmy and Shin were talking about, certain that Shin was still being a horn dog. He tore his eyes away from them to watch the swimmers. Occasionally, some of the moms would flirt and tease him, as if flirting with a teenage boy were the funniest thing in the world. It's not as if he has feelings. He likes it, right? And there they went, right after he blew the whistle and declared free swim in 5 minutes. The biggest flirt was also the biggest woman. She made a show of tucking her breasts safely back into her swimsuit, simultaneously moving them around and exposing a lot of flesh. He stared, of course, but he hated himself for it all the same. Hiroi was not the sort of guy who enjoyed being teased. Emmy saw this display, and she walked over beside the woman as she was leading her young son to the locker room. He couldn't hear what Emmy said, but the plump woman stared at her and hurried away. Emmy flashed him a V for victory with her fingers as she walked over to the diving board. Hiroi is all mine, Emmy thought, and she performed a basic swan dive. Her power allowed her to make adjustments to her form to be better than ever before. An errant lock of her curly hair had escaped from her swimming cap. Hiroi was smiling at her, so she tucked it back under and smiled and waved, and Shin swam over to join her. Let's do some laps, Shinichi suggested. But the lap swimming part's away from Hiro-chan, and I don't want to be too far away from him, Emmy protested. Well, that was his idea, but Shin didn't want to admit to that. Well, I'm garbage at diving. How about we just swim a circuit or two over in the free area, he suggested. Okay, but no sneaky octopus games, Shin-chan, Emmy replied. Stop reading my mind, Shin thought. You're supposed to be surprised, act demure, but admit that you like it and give in. And he felt Hiro watching him then. He looked up at him. You stop reading my mind, too. Now is not the time, bro, he thought. Shin, you know I'm reading your mind, so stop this idea of copping feels in the sanctuary of the pool, Hiroi thought. The pool is sacred. Shin did not get a single grope. Emmy kept evading him. Stupid wolf gal reflexes. Afterward, Hiro had to clean up by himself as a punishment for being tardy and for making Rebecca stay later. Shin and Emmy helped him out anyway. Emmy's navy blue one-piece school swimsuit was designed with modesty in mind, since it was a school uniform suit, but it still clung to her curves, and Shin and Hiro watched her. They separated, though. Shin and Hiroi mopped the men's showers in the locker room, and they talked. Emmy is so hot, Hiro. We're the luckiest nerds ever, Shin said. Hiroi had to agree. Emmy was mopping the women's side, and the boys planned to help her finish. I didn't expect to see her naked as soon as we did, Hiroi admitted. And what is the deal with Higashi-san? She's all granny style, but she teased us about our nudity. And then Shin added, I don't know what to make of her. Hiroi nodded. Poor Emmy getting all those glances because of her bruises. Shin had to agree that that was unfortunate, but also to be expected as a hazard of getting into fights. He had plans to get a hold of some armor, even an armored faceplate or a visor. Maybe then he could make up for his lack of powers with smarts and good equipment, like Iron Man. But gear was expensive. He would need quick cash. And then he began to ponder. And before he knew it, Hiro was wheeling the mop bucket over to the other side of the pool to help Emmy finish. They were all still in their swimsuits and wearing their shower shoes. They finished the women's area together, and Hiro fetched the disinfectant while Shin and Emmy emptied and rinsed out the mop buckets in the shower. This was Shin's perfect chance. He slyly stood next to her and groped her butt. Shin-chan, I said no! She shouted and gave him a smack. Shin's face reddened and he huffed. It was just a butt touch. Your rules said no booby touch, but nothing about butt. Shin, I also made it clear today was not a sexy time day. Remember the fight and the vomiting and the crying? I thought you'd change your mind. I'm sorry, Shin said. Add no butt touching to the rules, and while we're at it, no pussy touch either, until I say so. Yes, darling, Shin agreed. And don't call me darling if you don't mean it. I can tell you're mad at me, Emmy said. Hiro returned with the bottle of disinfectant. Please fill up the buckets to the third line, and then we'll just disinfect all of the floors, the showers, and then we'll get ready to get dinner. My treat since I ruined our day. Hooray! Emmy cheered. Our first date, even though I'm all ugly and bruised. And then she stopped. Oh no, Hiro-chan, we can't have a date when I look like this. Hiro shushed her. Just think of it as us three going to the soba place, because that's what it is. I can't afford a real date until next week. Emmy nodded. They split up to get the work done faster, and they showered together in the women's area to reduce the extra mess they'd create. Emmy made the boys keep their distance. Damn it, Shin, you couldn't keep your hands away, Hiroi accused. Well, so what? She's our girlfriend. I'm supposed to touch her, Shin said. Only when she wants it, Shin. Real life isn't like your Arrow comics. You respect a woman enough to not force things. Let her tell you when it's okay. Hiroi countered. I can hear you, Emmy said. I closed my eyes, not my ears. Sorry, Emmy, Hiroi said. Shin, I'll make it clear when it's okay, I promise, Emmy replied. They rode the bus to the all-night soba shop that was near Hiroi's apartment after locking up. They slurped cold noodles to combat the heat and iced sweet tea. I need to get better at fighting, Emmy said, sipping her tea. Yeah, you won't always be able to work on your enemy psychologically, Shin said. And why not? Emmy asked. That was a good question. Hiroi pondered that as a strategy. Mental manipulation. It had worked for all kinds of fictional characters, and why not for Pivot and Wolfgal? Hiroi decided he would study some psychology too. He'd been keeping himself busy for the years to come, he realized. Shin held Emmy's hand on top of the table. He wasn't talking at all. Emmy was chatting about her uniform ideas for Wolfgal. So, my idea is synthetic fur, very coarse to interfere with blades, with leather and plastic reinforcing. My mask will be a wolf face. What do you think? Hiroi nodded. What color? He asked. Gray. Gray wolves are badass, and the color is good for stealth, Emmy replied. Stealth, Hiroi realized. That's important too. And he mentally chose a dark purple for his uniform. No need for a mask if he had a morph suit. Full body coverage. Sorted. He explained this idea to his friends. Armor, Shin said. I'll have armor and build around that. Armor is important, Emmy agreed. Shall I escort you to home? Hiroi asked. Sure, Emmy replied, but let's get Shin-chan home first, she agreed. And Shin realized that he'd been maneuvered and he couldn't eel his way out of it. Okay, he agreed. The friends walked to Shin's apartment building. Outside the main gate, Emmy gave him a goodnight kiss, and Hiro and Emmy waited for the train among drunken salarymen and the occasional club kids. Emmy wanted to have fun like they did, but kept volunteering for things because she also wanted to feel needed. And Shin and Hiro needed her, she was sure of that. And holding hands with Hiro there at the train station, it felt really special. You did help today become much better, Hiro-chan, Emmy assured him. I didn't do anything, he protested. You did, though. You were your steady, calm, sweet self. You helped me feel normal. As they boarded the train, dodging staggering men in suits, there was a person wearing a mask and an unusual uniform on the train there. They were a chubby person of indeterminate gender, with stars painted onto their suit. The clinging fabric left little to the imagination, all the same, and Hiroi tried not to stare at them, but Emmy looked them over. Do you think they're a mask? Or a cape? She whispered. I have no idea what you mean, Hiro confessed. Masks are people with powers like us, and capes are mundanes who like to play dress up. I've done some research. Where do you find the time? He asked. I don't sleep much, Emmy confessed. Afraid of dreaming? Nightmares? Hiro asked. Emmy nodded. Some of the dreams my parents come home, but they're dead, and they want to pull me under the ocean to be with them. Or I turn into a monster and you don't love me anymore. Or everyone's zombies but me. Hiro patted her hand. Pretty scary, he agreed. My meds help, but sometimes I don't take them. They make my feelings get dulled. She turned him to face her. I want to feel how I feel about you at full strength, Hiro-chan. Taking your meds is important, Emmy. They help you stay out of the hospital. You told me that I'm supposed to remind you about that, Hiro said. Emmy nodded. I'll take my meds when I get home, she promised. You know, Hiro-chan, you were a good model. Will you pose for me another time? Sure. Uh, Do I come on too strong with that you belong to me forever stuff? A little, Emmy-chan, but honestly, I don't want anybody else. Just like you said, you're sweet and cute and smart and tough. I'm not tough. I proved that. I'll become tough, though. Wolfgal will be a badass, and Pivot will watch her back. Outside the door of her house, Emmy gave him a goodnight kiss. Be safe, Hiro-chan. Weirdos roam our city at night, Emmy said. Weirdos like us. She gave him one last look and closed the door behind her. Hiro cleaned his glasses, though they didn't really need it, before he left Emmy's house in the upscale neighborhood. Before he got to the train station, he heard a commotion inside a building to his left. He rushed over to investigate. He saw a woman wearing black clothing and a mask with goggles, and she was fighting a security guard and a masked man. Her uniform, he noticed, showed a lot of cleavage. He studied her as she fight, trying to learn technique. She threw the bag that she was carrying out the window that he was observing from, and she flinched when she saw him. Then she transformed into a panther, and the panther roared and the two men backed away. The panther leaped out of the window and grabbed the bag in her mouth before running away. She stopped after a few feet and looked back at Hiro expectantly, so he sprinted after her, and they ran to an information booth. The panther reared up to shove the door open. Hiro followed her. He closed the door, and he saw a woman squatting in a corner when he turned around. I know you. You're Yokai Girl, he said. You know me better than you realize, Hiroi, she said. Mom? He asked. I told you the truth when I said I knew Gombei Fukugawa personally. I arched him for a few years. Arched? Arch enemy, son? Wait, Mom! Mom, I'm a mask too! I have a gift for weight manipulation. He demonstrated his gift on her. We can be partners, he said happily. But then your father will miss both of us, she countered. But you can teach me. No. Why? The mentor always dies, boy. I learned on my own. You will too. Plus, what can I teach you? Our powers are completely different. Hiro choked back tears. He found out what his mom was doing at night, learned they both had gifts, and she refused to share that life with him. He'd been rejected by his own mother. I guess I'll see you at home, he said softly, and he turned to leave. Wait, Hiro. He turned back. Don't tell Goro about either of us. It's better if he doesn't know. Sure, lie to my father. Why not? He left her. Suddenly he didn't care about anything. Life was meaningless. He'd expected his mom would be happy he had inherited power from her, that she'd share her wisdom, give him some pointers at least. Screw it. He didn't need her. She'd get in his way and he'd worry about her. It was better this way. He'd make his own way through the Yokohama night world, just like Night Warrior Mihoshi and Golden Carp and Iron Tiger. When he got home, he felt completely exhausted. He still couldn't sleep. So he picked up his first Night Warrior Mihoshi comic book. Practice makes perfect, Mihoshi, a speech balloon proclaimed. Hiro nodded. Thanks, Mihoshi, he thought. He closed the comic. He concentrated, increasing the book's weight. He estimated that he had made it weigh around 30 pounds. He nodded to himself. That was a good start. And he lightened it, hoping to make it float. But that's not what happened. It was lighter than normal, but it seemed he couldn't make it lighter than air. That was good to know. He was tired from using his power even more, but his mind still would not let him sleep. He heard his mom come home, and he walked out in his pajamas to confront her. She was dressed in nice clothes, as if she'd been at an art dealer party. Hello, mother, he said. Akane Matsui looked at her son over her glasses. Hello, Hiroi. Are you going to abide by our agreement? I don't know why I should, but yes. We do that. The masks who out themselves complicated the lives of everybody around them, you know. Got any more lessons for me? No. Here's your cut of the job. She handed him a blank envelope. Earn your own from now on. Mom, why can't you be a normal mom for once? Normal is a comforting lie, son. You got stuck with me, and I got stuck with you. People don't change, so we have to make the best of it. People can change, Mom. You're a coward. Correction. I've lived for 18 years in a very dangerous profession. Cowardice is relative. She put a hand on his shoulder. For what it's worth, I want you to be better than me. With that, she went to her bedroom. Hiroi counted the money in the envelope. He hadn't earned it. He knew that it was hush money. He was not too proud to take it. He stepped over to his bedroom to put his first mask earnings into his wallet. I guess I'm a criminal now, he thought. He texted Emmy to see if she was awake. I am awake, darling, but why are you? Came her reply. My mom is yokai girl. She refuses to help us, he texted. Oh, that sucks. She's awesome. Shin has a glossy photo of her. Imagine what he'll say. Let's tell him right now. He's probably asleep. It can wait. How are you feeling? Rejected. Finally, something to share with my mom, and she won't do it. I can't connect to her. My dad is more like a coach than a dad. I've got no other family, really. I'm adrift. Like me. Yeah. I love you, Hiro-chan. I love you, Emi-chan. Saying the words, well, texting them, made his heart burn and made tears spill. Emmy and Shin were his life raft. I got some money from Yokai Girl's job tonight. I'm officially a criminal. Well, if you're a criminal, then so am I. Wolfgal isn't much of a do-gooder anyway. I'm sorry you don't have good-looking boyfriends, and nobody with acne and a greasy-haired chronic masturbator. We got the better end of the deal. Shut up. You're both in great shape. You're very sexy and well built. How do you know? I just do. I'm smart. You're super sexy. Thank you. And then suddenly he yawned, and he set his phone down. Going to sleep now. And she sent him a picture of herself topless and blowing a kiss. Sweet dreams, came her reply after. You too, darling, he replied. He saved the photo and went to sleep. Emmy had no dreams, which was good enough. The next day was Saturday, and the day before the sports festival. So they were at school that morning working on their projects. Shin was hanging out with the computer club. AI has made great strides lately. By the time we're out of college, programmers will be able to create AI interfaces that can learn visually as well as from data input. Shin read aloud from a science journal. This lady, Hitomi Shinobu, is a PhD student at Tokyo University. I have no reason to disagree with her, Shin added. I just don't think computers will ever be capable of independent thought and learning. Not like people, a club member said. My friend, you have earned my contempt again, Shin replied with a grin. We'll just have to see. I plan to design a virtual assistant with a hologram projector so it won't be disembodied anymore. The club applauded at Shin's initiative. Hasegawa was playing with her phone while Hiro led their committee as always, but he bet she would be standing up front to soak up praise for other people's work. So tomorrow Hasegawa and I will be at the hydration stations here by the bicycle racks, and here by the visitor baseball dugout, he said. Where will you be, Matsui-san? Asked a boy. He turned to Hasegawa. Hasegawa-san, which station do you prefer? He asked. I'll be at the baseball dugout, she said, not bothering to look up from her phone. Well, there you have it. I'll be by the bicycles. They left to get the things that they would need to do their jobs tomorrow to get them ready. Matsui, is it true Inukawa is your girlfriend? Hasegawa asked. Yes, Hasegawa, that's true, he replied warily. So, you'll date anybody, huh? Hasegawa, are you insulting Emmy? I'll tell her. The girl paled. We don't want to do that. I like my eyes. Well, remember that. We don't take your shit anymore. The popular girl nodded and then hurried away, leaving Hiro alone. Suddenly, Emmy hugged him from behind. I like seeing you act aggressive, she said, breathing into his shoulder. He turned around, and she stood up on her toes to kiss him. Some students whistled. Nobody knows that my boys were my models. I changed the faces, she whispered. Like I care, Hiro replied. You like being a shadow man, liar. You wouldn't want your face on a poster. He shrugged, but he knew she was right. She pulled him over to a bench under a tree. They sat together holding hands. Will you consider representing our district at the Budokan? I didn't learn judo to win tournaments, he said. Besides, the temptation to use my power would be too great. Emmy nodded. That's why I like you. You don't care about glory or if other people like you. You just go your own way. I go where you go, he replied. No, I follow you. That's how it will work. You're our Papa Wolf. Hiro noticed that a girl was drawing nearby. Is she in your art club? Hiro asked. Yeah, that's Yoshimi. She's really shy. Let's get Shin and skip the rest of school, Emmy suggested. I'd like to have a picnic in the park. Hiro liked the idea, but he said we have to make sure things get done today. Yes, darling, Emmy pouted. For your information, you could have had a booby touch. And then she jogged away. Yoshimi finished her sketch. It was a manga-style picture of herself and Hiroi kissing. She flipped over to the previous page in her sketchbook, the picture of Hiroi and Emmy sitting on the bench, and then she started touching that up in ink. Emmy was a paying customer, after all. Hiro then walked away, and Yoshimi smiled and blushed. Later that afternoon, they were thanked for their hard work and released by the vice principal. On the way to the station, Hiro said, Hey, let's have a picnic at the park. Aren't you broke? I've only got 200 yen myself, Shin replied. I have money, Hiro replied. So they went to a convenience store and bought some juice, chips, and sandwiches. At the park, still wearing their school uniforms, they sat down near a grand old tree for their first real date. Emmy let her pleated skirt slide to show off some of her legs. Hiro told them about his discovery the previous night and his entry into a life of crime. You're not a criminal, Hiro, Shin insisted. You didn't even help her with the crime. I'm an accessory in the eyes of the law, Shin, and I took the money. Shin nodded, eating his sandwich. If we work together and we share our money, we can get really good tools and then pull off big jobs, Emmy suggested. So let's make it official, Hiro said. Hands in. He and Emmy put their hands in. You too, Shin-chan, Emmy said. Hiro nodded. Shin put his hand in. Partners, Hiro said. They finished up their meal and relaxed. Emmy decided to climb the tree. Shin stood below to spot her. Yeah, spot her panties, Hiro thought. Emmy perched up in a branch with her skirt dangling. She looked into the distance to watch the ocean. Even though the ocean took her parents, she still loved it. Emmy couldn't explain why. She just loved the ocean. She wondered if any mer people loved looking at the land, and then she wondered if any of them had gifts like hers. Look out below, she called before dropping. Shin caught her and fell down on his butt. He laughed, though. I thought I was ready. Hey, want to practice? Yeah, Emi-chan, let's practice. So he and Hiro took turns catching Emi, who shrieked with joy with every drop. Hiro lightened her weight until they got really good at it. He had caught her full weight 3 times by the time she was tired from all the climbing. And they sat right there, catching their breaths, Emi in Hiro's lap, holding Shin's hand, with Hiro's arms around her. The sun was getting low in the sky, turning the ocean orange. I can die right now and never regret it, Emi said. Life is perfect. The end. Just kidding. I wish we could leave them in that perfect moment, full of youthful joy. But life always goes on, and maybe you know some of what is in their future. No spoilers, and no cheating skipping to the end. You know who you are. After that, they went to see a movie. They went to see one that was called That Darned Undead Janitor. It was silly, but also violent. Emmy sat between her boyfriends and placed their hands on her breasts. Well, each got one, you know. And Hiro was certain that that helped him like the movie more than it deserved. Shin completely ignored the movie and kissed Emmy's neck as he fondled her. After the movie, which Emmy enjoyed more than it deserved, she held their hands while they waited for the bus. So, how soon can you ditch the festival tomorrow, Hiro-chan? Emmy asked. Hiro's eyes were glazed over. Hmm? Oh, I have to help keep everybody hydrated and put stuff away after the festival. Sucks to be you. Shin-chan, I want to see another movie tomorrow. Shall we? Yeah, but I'm broke. I'll get my allowance tomorrow. It'll be my treat, Emmy said. Cool. And then Hiro said, Hey, can't we all go together after I clean up? You and I will go to the mall afterward and maybe get some ice cream. That's the plan? Yeah, I just made it up. Fair enough. Shin and Hiro left Emmy's house together. Dude, that movie seriously sucked. My brain knew it, but I still had a great time, Hiro said as they walked. Boobs make anything better, bro. I bet if a dentist would let you hold on to a boob, a root canal wouldn't be as bad. Hiro nodded. Getting the booby touch and the naked stages is pretty cool in the old relationship step by step. Yet, I can't help but wondering if things aren't going too fast. Like, if we're skipping stages and steps. I don't care. I'm loving the ride. Dude, Hiro agreed. Once he got home, Shin walked in on an argument. For hell's sake, Dad, stop blaming Mom for your shit, Shin shouted. It's not our fault you hate your job. Don't talk to me like that, Shin, his dad warned. Go ahead and take a shot, Papa. Make you feel good about yourself, eh? Shin yelled. He did. His father punched him in the face. Shin held his jaw, staring. His father blinked. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that, he said. Shin's mother was already crying, and that only made Shin more angry. Well, you finally asserted yourself. Feel like a real man yet? Shin asked. Shin, I didn't want to do that. I made you do it. I know. I'm fed up with you yelling at Mom. Fix your shit or go. We don't need you. Shin, don't say that, his mother said. I'm going to invent a great and valuable computer program or a smart device, and I'll take care of Mom. You can leave. Boy, do you really hate me? Wasn't I good to you? I don't want to hold my crying mother anymore. You made her cry too many times. I'm through with you, Nagazawa Akira. Shin moved past him and closed his bedroom door. His dad hit like a bitch. Shin wasn't crying. He wouldn't allow that to happen. So he goofed off on Twitter. He was going on a date with Emmy tomorrow. Why was he miserable? Not because he'd miss his dad if he left, that was certain. His eyes fell on the Shunga book, and he thought of Emmy again. He did cry while he masturbated, but it was just because it was so wonderful that Emmy loved him. It's okay if you cry about love and joy, right? There's nothing unmanly about that. The love of a beautiful girl was the greatest treasure in the world, and trash like Negazawa Shinichi didn't deserve it. He rolled up into a ball, not bothering to pull his pants back up. Not crying. Not crying because he hated himself. He noticed it was quiet. So quiet. He pulled his pants up and buttoned them, and he threw away the crumpled tissue and closed the art book. He listened. He waited. And then he heard them. They were talking, not yelling. He wiped his eyes and composed himself. He tidied up his room. While he was cleaning up, Emmy texted him. Shin, would it be okay if I invested in you? I mean, financed your equipment? That way we can get more done faster, right? Can you forgive me for helping you? It was a lot to digest. Where would she get the money? She couldn't touch her trust fund until she was 18, and her inheritance was in Higashi san's care. What, with your allowance? I don't think you get enough for my tools, darling, he texted to reply. What if I told you my paperwork allows me to withdraw money from the trust for an investment? I'd say, what are the stipulations? Well, I just need receipts and paperwork to show what the money is spent on. Tools and gear are totally acceptable, she texted. Well, Emmy, I say we need a workshop. My apartment does not have enough room. We can rent a workshop near the Tanaka shipyard, and you can pay me back in installments and gifts. I love you so much right now, he replied. I know, darling. I'm the best girlfriend ever. You are, he texted. Shin busied himself compiling his ship shopping list immediately. He kept himself limited to things like used tools, refurbished and aftermarket parts and equipment, telling himself that they would get the good stuff later. Everyone has to start small. Then armor, paint, and a paintball gun. Okay, Emi-chan, I have a wish list and prices and vendors all ready. My first plan is I'm going to make some smartwatches that are preloaded with porn and a setting that will shoot it to watch mode at the tap of a button. I won't be able to make them fast enough to meet demand, Hughes texted. Plus, it would be a good way to practice a variety of disciplines. I think it's a good moneymaker, darling. We'll need to make a bunch. And then we'll make some Shin, Hero, and Emmy porn for my own personal smartwatch, she replied. I like the sound of Shin and Emmy porn. I know. You're so naughty, Emmy-chan. I know, Wolfgal is even naughtier. Hey, you can sew, right? No. I'll teach you. You'll get good, and then you'll help me make my uniform. Okay. Shin, don't beat up your dad, okay? I know you get mad at him, but you can't take something like that back. I'll remember. Good night, I love you. Shin hadn't realized it was late. The hours hit him hard. He stripped down to his boxers and fell into bed. Emmy sorted her documents and put them away, and she picked up a feathery masquerade mask that she'd bought at a costume store last year when they were doing a play for Momotaro. She'd been good as Pheasant, if she said so herself. Donning the mask, Wolfgal came out to play. She took her meds, and she stripped naked. She took photo after photo of her reflection, idly longing for more mirrors. She grabbed her long neglected selfie stick and made do. Wolfgal studied her body, first analytically, then artistically. As she studied the photos and experimented with facial expressions and poses, she sprouted her war teeth and tried faces all over again. Can I be beautiful and terrifying at the same time? She asked her image. Can I be intimidating and sexy? Is my whole plan doomed or just a hard target to reach? Her smiling image had no reply. She deleted all but four of the photos and then took a truly dirty photo for good luck. Wolfgal was superstitious about the number four. And she looked at number five. It was almost too sexy. She saved it anyway. I will keep that one in reserve for a special gift, Wolfgal said, and let out a soft howl. She looked through her window to see the moon. Thank you, Moon Princess, for giving me my gifts and my boyfriends. Here is a song I like. And Wolfgal sang to the moon. She sang an old love song. Afterward, she asked, should I shave down there? Some girls do. You're right. All natural is good for me. No, we haven't had sex yet. I want to wait for the next Matsuri. I'll wear my yukata and it will be romantic. Then she cocked her head. Shin first. I want to make sure I know how to do it for Hiro. Shin would be happy if I just sat there naked while he masturbated. But Hiro's different. He cares a lot about doing things the right way. And I want to give him that. And then Wolfgal smiled. Practice on a pickle? That's silly. And then she said, oh, right, the gag reflex. Oh, mouth muscles need stretching too? You don't think my boys are that big, do you? What? They might not be done growing? Wow. What about me? Am I done growing? Wolfgal was satisfied with her conversation with the Moon Princess and gave a good night howl. Yes, the safe sex practices. You know we're getting married, and I'll never need any other men, right? Oh, we'll never break up, Princess. And then Wolfgal took off the mask, and she smiled down at it. When I get a proper wolf mask, it will be better. Well, best let the body sleep, Wolfgal said, and retreated to allow Emmy to resume. Emmy pulled on her nightgown. Little girl style, she said, frowning. I'll need to get a grown-up nightie. Emmy thought of her boy's hands there in the movie theater, and she fell asleep smiling. When he got home, Hiro's parents were watching TV together. He put his things away and sat on the floor between them, just like he had done as a boy. How's school? His mother asked. Fine. He's dating Inukawa Emi, Goro said. Do I know her? Afro and freckles. Oh, right. She's cute. I hope it's a good time for you. I remember how difficult everything felt when I was in school, his mother said. And then she added, I found some old collectibles while I was cleaning. I left them on your desk. Maybe you would like to keep them. Hiro thanked her and walked away to check. He found an old composition book and some magazines in opaque plastic sleeves. And trading cards. He looked through the cards. They were mask trading cards, many of them autographed, including Big Man, aka Gombe Fukugawa. And there was Yokai Girl and Wonder Momo. Go-chan really was Big Man. In the first magazine sleeve, there was also an autographed glossy photo of Yokai Girl. Hmm. Her uniform was a lot more revealing in that, and the color was white. Was this from the beginning of her career? And then he noticed that the magazine was porn. All of the magazines were, six of them, and all featuring women wearing masks, sometimes police uniforms, and one or two stewardesses. Some photo spreads also featured men in masks. Men were always masks, or more likely just capes. And the women were probably capes too, he thought. People who played in costumes but had no powers. Mundanes playing pretend. The photos really turned him on, but he wondered about that. Was it because he had a uniform fetish? Or was it because he was a mask and these were his people? And why had his mom given him such magazines? He noticed they were dated the early 2000s, back when his parents were young adults. That gave it an extra layer of weird. He was still really interested in the photos, though. He put the magazines away on his bookshelf. He decided he would keep the trading cards, but that yokai girl photo would be a gift for Shin. He'd always had a crush on his mom. And how would Shin feel about her being yokai girl? Wait, didn't Shin have that exact photo already, minus the autograph? And then what did it matter? Hero wouldn't keep it. If it was an attempt at a peace offering, it was misguided. The next day at the sports festival, a bunch of parents and staff and other relatives of students had presented for the sports festival to celebrate youthful ardor and vigor and blah, blah, blah. Hiro felt very sour about the whole thing, especially knowing that Emmy and Shin were going to be making out at a movie theater while he was stuck passing out cups of water. He smiled politely to people, but inwardly he seethed. Part of him watched himself. This tedious task serves a purpose. People will appreciate it and see you as a reliable and trustworthy young man. You can use that later, an inner voice told him. Hiro listened to its counsel. Hasegawa texted him, Thank you for your work, Matsui. He hoped that her attitude was genuine, so he replied, You're welcome, Hasegawa. Even in his gym clothes, it was a hot day. He had no relief. He had volunteered to do this by himself. If he needed to pee, he'd just have to hold it. Damn. He watched the races and the other track events idly. Hasegawa at least got to watch a baseball game. Not that he liked baseball much anyway. He resisted the urge to play on his phone. The hours felt like a whole day. Finally, it was time to pack up. He downed 2 cups of water and poured the rest onto the grass near the tree by the bench where he had sat with Emmy. He emptied out the cooler and carried it over to where Toru Hasegawa was waiting so he could carry hers too. She hadn't even emptied it for him. You couldn't empty it before I came by. I didn't think to do it, Hasegawa said. I was waiting for you. Hiro sighed and emptied her cooler. Well, I thought you were going to carry it anyway, she said. So you did, in fact, think to do it, but decided to leave it for me to do. Hiro set the empty cooler down and threw a cup of water into Hasegawa's face. Start doing things for yourself, he said, and he walked away carrying both coolers. Even empty, they got rather heavy with the lateness of the day and the heat, and he was not manipulating their weight. But then they felt lighter anyway, even though he wasn't doing it. Did he have a strength gift too? Or was it just that his muscles were sufficient? After putting away the coolers to dry, he went back to the tables, and he saw that Hasegawa was carrying her table with the help of another boy. Hiro nodded at her. 2 of his committee members were carrying his table. He thanked them for their work and joined the others who were busy picking up garbage bags. After he was satisfied that their work was done, Hiro thanked his classmates, and they gave each other a nice round of applause. Hasegawa dismissed the committee, and she asked Hiro to wait. He noticed parts of her shirt were still a little damp. Matsui-san, I apologize. I have treated you and your friends badly, and I've just let people do things for me, just like you said. I I want to do better. I forgive you, he said. Can we go out sometime? She asked. No, I have a girlfriend, he said, and he left to change into his street clothes. After leaving the school, Hiro sat down on a bus stop bench, and he texted Emmy asking where to meet her. He didn't notice that girl Yoshimi taking his picture. Nor did he notice another girl wearing a black skirt covered in crow feathers who was staring at him. He was staring at his phone, willing it to buzz at him. Finally, Emmy replied, Me and Shin are at Koi Garden Mall. We're by the statue of Big Man. Big Man was a local hero. He had saved many lives after a major earthquake. Not everyone knew that the singer Gochan was Big Man, but Hiro knew. As he boarded the bus, he texted Emmy that he was on his way, and he stood holding the strap. She sent him a selfie of her and Shin flashing the V for victory and smiling. When he arrived, Emmy ran up to hug him, and that felt incredible. His previous anger melted in her arms. He closed his eyes as he held her, and Emmy leaned into him. When Hiro opened his eyes, Shin was gone. He didn't even say goodbye, Hiro said. Shin-chan had a fight with his dad last night, and he's not handling it well. We could work on it together. I guess he'd rather let us have our date. Okay, well then let's have a good time. For Shin. Emmy led him to a crafting and fabric store. Now here is my home away from home, Emmy said. She was lit up with excitement as she showed him around and introduced him to the clerks as her boyfriend, Hiro. The women who worked there acted like Emmy was a part of their family. Emmy next led him to a selection of artificial furs. Why not get real fur? He asked. She looked at him as if he'd suggested the benefits of genocide. Because I don't want any wolves to die? Well, when you put it that way, I sound like an asshole. I still love you. She had him touch several. Now, I want the fur to be coarse for protection, but not so bad that it's itchy and scratchy on the skin. And luckily, none of these will do that. And she unrolled a portion of gray fur and held it across her chest. Imagine for me. Is this Wolf Gal? She asked. He narrowed his eyes, and he saw Emmy head to toe in gray fur with her war teeth out and snarling. He recoiled. Yeah, she smiled. Don't worry, Hiro-chan. My uniform will be sexy, not monstrous. And even if I'm a scary monster, I'm your monster. And that stirred something inside Hiro, and he had to adjust a sudden raging erection. Emmy watched him open mouthed. Oh, Hiro-chan, does Emmy, your very own monster, make you hungry? Hiro swallowed and nodded. She blushed. Later, Hiro-chan, I promise. When it's right, I'll take good care of you. Can you wait? Oh, Emmy-chan, I want you right now. Oh, I know, darling, I can see it. She reached out to touch the bulge. I have a compromise, she said, and she led him over to the employee bathroom and they allowed them to enter. Locking the door behind her, she pushed him to sit down and she knelt. Now, this is my first time, so be patient, okay? She asked, blushing furiously as she reached for his pants. Hiro-chan, Emmy-chan, I'm sorry. I think that, okay, good. My knees are starting to hurt, actually. Was it nice? Yes, it was very nice. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm a good girlfriend. The best girlfriend ever. I'll always be Hiro-chan's monster. You and me and Shin forever. Forever, he agreed. Emmy purchased the whole ream of the gray fur. Hiro carried the bundle under his arm with stickers from the store as proof of purchase upon it. Hey, do you actually want to get ice cream? We can do whatever you want, Emmy said. Ice cream actually sounds really good, Hiro replied. Emmy smiled. I want something sweet and salty like Hiro-chan, she said. I want something sweet like Emmy-chan, Hiro said. But nothing is so sweet as her. "Hmm, I love you, she whispered, and there was a fire in her eyes. I will love you always. Hiro chose to get chocolate caramel ice cream, and Emmy chose a sea salt caramel flavor. Halfway through their ice cream, Hiro paused and asked, So, was that really your first time to do mouth stuff? First time with Hiro-chan. It adds up to being the same. I guess you're right. Listen, it's been you and a pickle, okay? Don't worry, I ate the pickle. It's not a threat to you. And then she giggled. Now I think I'll have to practice on a big daikon radish. He grinned. Oh, I'm not that big. You're teasing me. Always trust a woman about her man's size. A man will lie and exaggerate. But Emmy is a tease who wants her man to be happy, so she is suspect, Hiro countered. Emmy gasped in mock outrage. Keep up that kind of talk, and I'll never do that for you again. Oh, please don't do that, Emmy-chan. That's mean, he said, playing contrite. Apologize, she demanded. I'm sorry, Emmy-chan. I will always trust you, and I will always be good to you. Hiro didn't hear her say that she'd never lie, but he didn't make an issue out of it. He did trust her. This was only a small lie. Emmy knew that she would lie to Hiro-chan and Shin-chan more in the future. She had practiced on Shin-chan in the movie theater, And she was sure she wasn't the only one in there who was doing that either. She would lie to Hiro about having sex with him first, too. She wanted them both to be her first, but it just wasn't possible. So she would pretend. It was harmless. She would time it to be during the fireworks. That way she could scream as much as she wanted. Oh, she wanted to scream. She knew Hiro would love that too. Hmm, Shin, too, she was sure. She would pant and let her tongue loll out and go limp and maybe cry a little. Her boys would feel like they were gods, and it would all be because of her. Emmy smiled a secret smile, and Wolfgal would make them feel like she was Venus herself. Yes, their love was perfect and would only get better. Best girlfriend ever. That way, they'd never leave her like Mama and Papa did. They would be a family forever, and they'd have children, and it wouldn't matter who was the father. They'd all be all of their children. They would settle for birth certificate names with rock, paper, scissors and take turns. And they'd get a nice house away from the city with a lemon tree. And he smiled. Oh, I love you so, so much, Hiro-chan. I love you too, Emmy. You're the only girl I want. I believe you, Hiro. They strolled around the mall, past the smoker's room, past the photo booths, past the arcade, and stopped at a rug store. Emmy showed him several Chinese designed rugs. This one's use of blue and purple makes me think of you, Hiro-chan. You're so cool and dark. I think you will become colder as time goes by. Hiro looked at her. Why is that, do you think? We're all going to disappoint you. Everyone. And Emmy went on. You'll become so afraid of being hurt, you'll withdraw. Even I will let you down and disappoint you. Be ready for it, and don't pull away. Don't become colder. What do you mean? Oh, Hiro-chan. And Emmy drifted off, and she looked up at him. I want you to be strong, but not cold and hard. I still don't understand, Emmy. Hiro, you have a big, open heart. I won't intend to hurt you, but I'll hurt you, and you'll hurt me. And it's got to be something you accept. And Emmy led him out of the store and asked him where he would want to go. Being indoors has been nice. I want to be able to relax. Let's go over to the games corner and rent a Go board. Emmy agreed. One thing they shared was a love of games, but Hiro was much better than her at Go. They took the bus over to Hiro and Shin's part of town, read as the poorer part, and walked to Games Corner. Should we have stopped at my place to drop off the fabric? Emmy asked. Hiro shrugged. It's not heavy. And while they played Go, Hiro pondered Emmy's cryptic words. She knew him well, and her peculiar genius involved insights that let people's personalities be laid bare to her. Still, he wondered if she was hiding something. Emmy was talking. So, this one girl at the hospital was anorexic, and we were in the same hallway, but we had individual rooms, and she flirted with me, but it was in this sad way. She was the kind of girl you could easily tell was a lesbian. Me, I'm a little complicated. We kissed a few times when no one was watching, and is it okay if I like girls a little bit? Hiro nodded vaguely. You actually like men too, though, right? Like, you aren't putting on an act? He asked. I like men, Hero. I like my men very much. But maybe a girlfriend would be nice. Would that be okay? Like, what if I got a bisexual girlfriend and she liked you too? Hero blundered the next three moves, and Emmy didn't even notice. I guess it would be all right if you were happy, he said finally. Shin was enthusiastic about the idea, Emmy replied. But I like how you hesitated. It proves that I am the only girl you want. You're all I could want. Emmy won their first game. She looked hard at the board. I seriously have five in a row? How could I win? But there they were, her five white pieces. Were you distracted by naughty thoughts, Hiro-chan? I was confused, he admitted. Shall we play again? He asked. No, I want to savor my victory over my sensei, she replied. For my prize, you follow me home and give me a very special kiss. So they took the train to go to Emmy's house. And there in Emmy's bedroom, she flung the fabric out of Hiro's hands and closed her eyes. After staring for a moment, Hiro took her in his arms and he kissed her. Emmy caressed his back and then rested her head against his chest. The last time I went to the hospital, I really missed you, Hiro-chan. I love you in a different way from Shin-chan. With him, I want to be fun and silly. And with you, I want to do things the right way. You make me serious. Do you get it? The two of you complete me. I can be fun, Emi-chan. Of course you can. But to me, our love isn't about games. Our love is about tenderness and comfort. I want to protect you, but you're stronger than me. So if I tried, it would be silly. She told his chest. You can protect me if I can protect you, Hiro said. Very well, the unicorn said. If you'll believe in me, then I'll believe in you. What? Through the looking glass, Emmy explained. She leaned back to look into his eyes. I believe in you, she said, and it touched him deeply. He thanked her, and shortly after Higashi-san came in. Hiro-chan, would you like to stay for dinner? She asked. Oh, yes, thank you very much for inviting me, he replied, trying to pull away from Emmy, but she held on. Thank you, Higashi auntie. I'll join you in the kitchen soon. And she gave Hiro a great big kiss in front of her older housekeeper. And she left him alone to fend for himself while they cooked. Something made Hiro immediately look for a diary. What was it she was hiding? He found a pink book. Inside was a written conversation. I love him, but I'm scared he'll leave, he read. Relax, he thinks you're the best. Have sex with him during the Matsuri, and it will be so romantic he'll be under your spell forever. Well, Hiro didn't know how to handle that. It was a bit crazy, even for Emmy. He flipped back several pages. I'm 16, but I don't have a boyfriend. Won't the city council just issue me one to get it over with? He read on. My only real friends are Hiroi and Shinichi. They're cute and sweet, but they're sure to pick good girlfriends soon and forget all about Emmy with the freckles and the curly hair and the boobs that are too big, like an American's. He didn't see a conversation that far back. So was it the wolf that Emmy had mentioned? And did that relate to her gifts? Powers and mental health was a hot topic all the time. Most masks wouldn't talk to a therapist, but there was a lot of speculation about unnatural gifts warping people's minds and making them into extreme personalities and causing sexual deviancies as well. Normal people didn't put on costumes and roam around at night looking for fights. Hiro carefully put Emmy's diary away. He remembered that he hadn't read the book that his mother had included with those collectibles. Maybe it was a diary too, a way to learn his mom's mask lessons, perhaps. He flipped around through Emmy's manga collection. For her complaints about nightmares, she sure read a lot of horror stories. And he found a novel that was called Shrekland, Stacy's Journey. It was a spin off of an American movie, according to the summary. It was about an aspiring film director who got killed by a sorceress who called herself Coffin Queen, and she bound her spirit into servitude with the promise of one day being returned to her body as a reward and a second chance at life. This character, Stacy's boyfriend, Andy, was dating a transgender man named Zach, and Stacy longed to be reunited with both of them, but she was defiant and stubborn towards Coffin Queen. Hiro thought that Stacy was pretty funny. He admired her spirit, symbolically speaking. And at the end of the story, Stacy learns that her boyfriend and her boyfriend's boyfriend started dating another woman named Sheila, who was working for famous horror movie legend Carpenter Craven, in essence, stealing her happy ending. Hiro wanted to read more, but the book was a standalone, acting as a bridge between Shrekland the movie and an upcoming Shrekland television series, which replaced Stacy with Sheila because the actress who played Stacy committed suicide after the movie was finished filming, according to a message from the novel's author, with a telephone number and websites for suicide prevention helplines. Emmy popped in wearing an apron. "Dinner is ready, Hiro-chan. Wash up." Sitting at the table with Emmy and Higashi-san felt a little surreal, like a dream of family life. He could feel comfortable with Emmy as his wife, he decided. He complimented the food and made a note to learn how to cook this meal for himself. Higashi-san asked him if he liked the mushrooms. Yes, very much, he agreed. Higashi-san made it clear to Hiro that she liked him and approved of his relationship with Emmy. "So the Matsuri will be next Saturday. Will you go to the festival and see the fireworks?" she asked. He nodded. "Hiro will win me a goldfish and a stuffed animal, won't you, Hiro-chan?" Emmy said. "I'll try," he agreed with a shy grin. "I believe in you," she affirmed. "Those Matsuri goldfish are misery time bombs," Higashi-san said. Hiro nodded, remembering his childhood goldfish Yoshi, who had died after only a month. "I'll be okay if they die. I'll be happy while they live with me," Emmy insisted. And Hiro imagined her crying her eyes out at a bowl with a belly up goldfish floating in it, but he said nothing. Later on, Emmy kissed him good night. "Be sure to be prepared by the time the Matsuri comes. You and me on Sunday, Hiro-chan. Be ready." Hiro texted her while he was on the train. "You did mean be ready by getting condoms, right?" "Yeah." "Oh, okay," he replied, and then he did a double take. "The Matsuri? You mean we're going to do it?" "Yes, Hiro-chan, you and me." Hiroi mentally examined his closet for how to look his best at the Matsuri. Well, he could wear his hoppy jacket. That was a Matsuri uniform. His white tank top and his beach shorts with the hibiscus pattern. Emmy would like that, right? And what would Shin be doing? By the time Hiro got home, he had forgotten once again about his mother's composition book. He idly put it in a drawer and then forgot it forever. He mentally set aside 2,000 yen for condoms. His take would still cover his morph suit and boots and a utility belt and a few tools. But after that, though, he'd be back to just his allowance and his part-timer wages. Was there a god of low-paying jobs? His dad knocked on his bedroom door. "Come in," Hiro said. Goro leaned into the doorframe. "Hey, Hiro, I want you to know you can talk to me about stuff. I was 16 once too, and I've been coaching for years, so I know what it's like for young people these days." "Thanks, Dad. I'm okay." "Do you have condoms?" "Dad, we aren't ready for that yet." "So, no. Well, I bought some for you just in case." And he set down a plain green cardboard package on his desk. "So, about enthusiastic consent," Goro began, and Hiro wished he could die. "No means no, son. Accept it and treat her like a person you care about. If she says yes, but asks you to stop, you will stop because you're a gentleman." "Yeah, Dad, I'm not a rapist," Hiro replied. "I know that, son, but this is stuff every young man needs to hear. Sex should always be something you both want, and you both should have a good time. No confusion, no hurt feelings. I take it seriously, Dad. When we are ready, I want to do it the right way. Now, I've got a banana to show you the right way to put on a condom. I'm smart enough to figure it out, Dad." "Okay, son. Have a good night." And Goro left, closing Hiro's door softly. That was well and good, but what if she goes crazy and bites you with big wolf teeth? How's that for enthusiastic consent, Papa? Does anyone ever get it right? Is love just full of mistakes? Hiroi stripped down to his boxers and tossed and turned in bed for hours. Shin had discovered that his dad left while he was on his date with Emmy. He had left an envelope stuffed with cash. He'd sold his wedding ring and left the money according to the receipt on the envelope. Shin's mother was still in shock, staring at the empty drawers in her bedroom. Shin knelt beside her and put his arms around her. "I have a plan, Mama. I'll make money and I'll take care of you. You and me are going to be okay." She nodded and held his arm. "My baby," she said, "you're not supposed to be a man yet. You're supposed to get your heart broken by some girl and get a part-time job you hate and get obsessed with some band and do a few more little boy things. I'm a man, Mama. I just wear a boy's clothes. We will be okay, won't we? Let's go eat someplace nice. Go put on your suit." And she wiped her tears and stood up to close the empty drawers. She gave Shin a bright, brittle smile. He returned it and went to his room to comb his hair, wash his face, and get dressed in his nicest clothes. He sat down in the living room to wait for her, and Shin looked at the photos that Emmy had sent him, the both of them smiling and flashing the V, and all three of them on a school trip to Tokyo by Hachiko's statue. The loyalty of the dog who waited by the train station every day for her deceased owner had touched each of them. Shin supposed they all wanted to be loved that much. because they had their own reasons for feeling unvaluable. His mom finally came out wearing makeup, and she had her hair done up fancy. Okay, Shin, I know a great place, she said. So they went out to eat, talking about Emmy and Hiro and music. They both did a good job of pretending to be happy and carefree. Shin sent his mom off to work with a smile. She had a part time job as a medical transcriptionist and data entry specialist. He was dragging his feet to school, but he got there on time. Hiro gave him an encouraging nod as they sat down at their desks in homeroom. He looked across at Emmy, who blew him a kiss. Her hair was pulled up into a bun. This week was going to drag. He was living for that weekend and the Matsuri. Hiro got his attention by tapping their secret code on his desk. Shin reached behind Motomiya without looking and felt something pressed into his hand as Hiro reached for him. He hid his hand under his desk and peeked. 3 condoms folded into a small stack. He shoved them quickly into his pocket, hoping nobody had seen. Shin tapped the code that meant something bad on his desk, and then he focused on schoolwork as best as he could.